Hello, my little pooky, little cutie little babies. Today, I'm thinking of doing like a good old-fashioned crochet tutorial. This outfit that I'm thinking of, like cooking in my brain for a long time, once I have an idea and it sticks and it like won't leave my mind, I have to make it. So that's what I'm doing today. The whole outfit, picture it, pink and red. Granny square fingerless gloves. And then I want to make a matching pink and red granny square bonnet as well. So they're like a set. If all goes well, I will also make a matching pink and red shrug, which I will be making another video for that. If the video's done, it'll be linked somewhere. If it's not, then I just never did it. I actually already made one glove and I've just been wearing one glove around the house for a little bit too long. It's a little embarrassing. Anyway, let's freaking crochet. For the granny square itself, I'm using a 4.25 crochet hook. For all the little trim on the glove, I'm using a 3.5 crochet hook. And for the yarn, I'm using a size 4 acrylic yarn, nothing super fancy here. Here's row 1 of the granny square, row 2. When I start a new row, I just make a slip knot. I choose a corner, stick my hook through that corner, pull the slip knot through, and then I chain 3 to start the new row. I like to incorporate my tail of yarn, so that way it makes the chain 3 a little bit thicker. I'm not going to chain 1 before I go into each space or anything like that. Once I'm done with the 3 double crochets, I'm just going to go right into the next space and do 3 more double crochets. So no chaining 1 in between double crochet sets. And for the corners of the piece, instead of chaining 2 for the corner, I'm going to chain 1 and then put my next 3 double crochets there. So no chaining 1 between each cluster set, and I only chain 1 at each corner. I'm trying to keep the holes as minimal as possible because obviously we want these gloves to be as warm as possible. And yeah, I'm on my 3rd row and then I just have one last row to go. Here's row 3 and here's row 4. In a perfect world, I would have left a long tail on both squares, but you know, let's call it when it's like stretched out a bit, it's like about 4 inches. When you're deciding how big to make your squares, is that I have comically little teeny tiny, oh my gosh, I don't want to be one of those girls. I'm so small. If your hands are larger than mine, you might want to add another row or 2. I definitely made these squares on the snuggier, smaller side because I know that they're going to stretch over time. Now it's time to seam up the sides. So I just did 1 seam along the entirety of the granny square, and then I marked out on the side where I want the seams to go because again, we need a thumb hole. So as long as you leave a little space for your thumb hole, wherever that may be, you might want to hold it up to your hand to figure it out. This is where I'm putting it. I want the top to be a little shorter. I want the bottom to be a little longer, but it's about 2 spaces wide that I'm leaving for the thumb. I'm just going to seam here and here. It doesn't really look like much, but now we're going to add all the trim. Going to add a trim at the top, a trim for the thumb, and a trim at the bottom. For the trim, I'm going to use that 3.5 hook. So I'm going to start with the top trim. I'm going to chain 6 chains plus 1 for a total of 7 chains. I'm going to single crochet down this row. So we should have a total of 6 single crochets. I'm going to find the next stitch on the granny square, which would be over here, and I'm going to slip stitch 1, and then I'm going to move over to the next stitch and I'm going to slip stitch 2. Now I'm going to turn my work, but I'm going to skip over these 2 slip stitches that I made. I'm going to back loop only single crochet up the row. So I'm only sticking my hook in the back loop of the stitch, not both loops, just the back. You're at the end of this row, chain 1, turn the work, and then I'm going to back loop only single crochet down the row. Then I'm going to find the next 2 stitches on the granny square and slip stitch into them, slip stitch 1 and slip stitch 2. I'm gonna turn my work like that, bada bing. And this is basically the technique that I'm gonna be using for the rest of the glove. And at the end we have a little gap, so just seam that closed however you like. It's looking like a glove. Fabulous. When I tried to replicate my previous glove and follow the notes that I had written, the trim was just way too long, and that's because my tension wasn't right. So make sure you have a nice tight tension. This is like just under 1.5 inches. So let's move on to the thumb hole. For the thumb, I attach my yarn. Just like the last trim, I'm going to chain 6 plus 1, and then instead of single crocheting all the way down, we're gonna slip stitch, which is everyone's favorite, I know. And also, just like what we previously did, I'm slip stitching twice into the granny square stitches. Don't forget when you turn your work to skip over those slip stitches, and then back loop only slip stitch up, chain 1, then turn the work and repeat that all around the thumb hole, and don't forget to seam that little gap at the end, however you like. Okay, so the thumb is done. She's looking beautiful. And the last thing to do is the wrist cuff. Attach some yarn. Then I'm gonna chain 13. 1, 2, 12, 13. Then I'm going to single crochet down this row. So now we should have 12 stitches of single crochet, just like in the other parts of the glove. We are going to slip stitch once, slip stitch twice, turn the work, skip over the slip stitches, and back loop only single crochet up the row. And then when I get all the way up the row, I'm going to chain 1 and do the same thing over again. Back loop only single crochet down the row, slip stitch twice, turn my work, back loop only single crochet up the row. And I'm going to do this around the entirety of the wrist cuff section of the glove. I am almost done. I'll take that. Okay, I still have to like weave in some ends and make it look like really pretty and polished and whatnot. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I'm so excited. This audio probably sounds so bad. There's so much stuff happening right now, but all I have to say, no notes on the gloves. These gloves are perfect when you're just like scrolling in bed late at night. They keep my tootsies nice and warm. I love them. No freaking notes. It is time to dive in to the bonnet. I'm excited and I'm a little nervous. Okay, I hope it turns out well. I've never made a bonnet before. Let's keep in mind, I have a rather large head. So if you have a smaller head than me, you might want to make this a little smaller. At the same time, I'm not making an oversized bonnet. I'm making like just a very fitted bonnet. Start off by making 7 granny squares. I'm making the granny squares exactly how I made the granny squares for the gloves. Each granny square is 4 rows, no chaining in between cluster sets. Each corner, I just do a cluster set, chain 1, another cluster set. And then once you have the 7 granny squares, here's how I assembled them. You're gonna want something like this. You're gonna have 2 rows of 3 granny squares, and then you're gonna have a little granny square on top, little cherry on top, okay? Now that we have this shape, whatever shape this is, you can see there's some gaps right here. We're gonna fold it and seam those gaps together on both sides, and that's what's gonna form a little cap. Let me just seam this up real quick, and then I'll try it on for you, and we'll take it from there, okay? Oh, don't look at my hair. I had it up for a reason. Right? I'm gonna have to look back at this footage because I honestly have no idea what this looks like. Am I giving Scandinavian princess? Am I giving Danish fashion influencer? Okay, after reviewing the footage, I've decided that this is good. I'm gonna add a trim to the bottom first. before I add the face framing trim. So I think for all the trim, I'm gonna stick with a 4.25 crochet hook because I do want this to have a ribbed effect, but I don't want it to be like super cinched. Let's get to business. And literally, like the gloves, I'm gonna do the exact same rib technique with a back loop only single crochet. So I attached my yarn at the very corner of the piece and I chained 10 chains plus 1, so we'll have a total of 10 stitches. So now I'm just going to single crochet all the way down this chain, slip stitch 1, loose slip stitch 2. Just like before, I'm gonna skip these 2 slip stitches and back loop only single crochet up the row. Do chain 1, turn my work, crochet back down the row, and slip stitch twice, blah, blah, blah. You get the drift. And I'm gonna just keep repeating this until I find myself all the way at the end of the piece. Okay, I'm halfway done. I think it's looking good. The trim is just a little over 2 inches. So I'm gonna finish this up and I'll be right back. A good trim transforms anything. Trim is done. She's looking cute. Now I need to do the trim around the face. I'm going to extend the trim around the face to also be the ties of the bonnet. So it's gonna go all around, starting from the end of the ribbing all the way up here to the other side and the end of the ribbing, and then I'm gonna have 2 long tails. I'm going to start all the way in this corner where I just finished, so technically I didn't have to fasten this off, but I did anyway. And I'm going to chain 6, so 5 plus 1. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Single crochet down the row, slip stitch 1, slip stitch number 2, turn the work, and back loop only single crochet up the row, chain 1, turn the work. And I'm just going to continue this trim all around the hood until I get to the other side. Halfway done, tried it on. I think it's gonna be cute. And I'm just gonna finish this up and then we'll do the ties. I finished the trim, very cute. I was gonna make the ties separately, but less seaming is always best. So I'm just going to carry on with the back loop only single crochet all the way down. So I'm gonna stop connecting it to the trim with the slip stitch. I'm just gonna crochet like regular, I guess. And the tie is gonna be the same exact width as the trim, so it's only gonna be 5 stitches long. I finished. I did 104 rows for the ties. I wanted to have all of the tying options. And then now I'm gonna show you just how to attach your yarn and make the other tie. I attach the yarn to the corner using a slip knot, and then I crochet down the row. Then I chain 1, turn my work, and repeat that until I have 104 rows, and then I'm done with the tie. Last thing that I have to do is weave in all my ends, and then we'll try it on and see if I succeeded in this bonnet endeavor. It is so windy, so again, apologies if the audio is super crappy, but let's keep this short and sweet. I really like this bonnet. I really think I nailed it. It's giving exactly what I wanted her to give. One note, I guess, I wonder if this bonnet makes it into my regular rotation. I don't know yet. I don't know if she's gonna become a regular contender in my fashion rotation. So we'll see. I like her, I think she's really cute, but we'll see if I actually wear her, to be determined. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, my little pooky little babies. And in next week's video, I'm gonna make the shrug, which looks like this. And hopefully you watch it and like it, and I'll link it somewhere. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Love ya! Do I look like a little baby? Is it giving baby girl? Is she baby girl coded?